All right. In three, two, one. Back at it here on the Alaska Sports Talk podcast. So glad to have you along wherever you get your podcast. Podcast brought to you by. You can insert your name here. We're still looking for a sponsor. So if you want to be it, you can do it. It could be you.
Yeah,
It could
could be
be
you.
your podcast for
Could
all
be
you know.
you.
Yeah, it could be. Special edition of AST here tonight as we're recapping the Alaska Prep Shootout, also some UAA basketball as well. We have West Valley basketball coach Colton Growden with us, Josh Reed from the ADN also with us, talking some high school hoops, some college hoops, and a whole bunch of other sports as well. But the NFL's happening, Isaiah. I know that you're,
It is. We talked a little bit about it last week.
yeah,
Number one seed.
no
Very
biggie.
excited.
Yeah,
Very excited. No, didn't play today this week, so we were able to watch. We were able to watch Green Bay lose, which I'm still not sure how that happened, but we watched Green Bay lose. Watched the NFC West's dominance over the NFC happen again this past weekend. So now we got the 40 whiners, which I know one person that we know who's a Hall of Famer that Brad was talking about last week, who will remain nameless, Hall of Fame member, who's in love with the 40 whiners, the Niners 40 and whiners. But very
jeez. All
much
right.
looking forward to that. Yeah.
I
Huh?
mean, you seem very cool, calm, and collected. I
Well,
mean, going into
I
this.
was in my whole Seahawk gear last week. I was going to try and be professional a little bit more this week
Yeah,
and wear the Alaska Sports Talk,
there you go.
shirt, because I really went over the top last week. So
Well, I tried to tune into the podcast last week, but I was on a boat, floating
yeah,
somewhere in the Bahamas, Costa Rica,
yeah,
Panama,
that's
It was a
unfortunate
little
for you.
crazy when we landed in Colombia. Like, we got to Cartagena, Colombia, the day that Maduro was captured in
Are you
Venezuela. So I was
serious?
dead serious.
Oh my
Like, I was like,
gosh,
oh my God, of all days to be here. Like, this is like crazy, but it was
that's
kind of wild. But anyway.
oh my
Yeah.
word. Oh my gosh,
Not a
that's
political
wild.
podcast at all. We're talking sports, so I think we should stick to sports.
Stick to sports. Yeah,
Stick
4 o'clock
sports.
on Saturday.
Okay.
It's going to lead to some issues for me with the Wolverines game that night. I don't exactly know
What are
what
your
I'm going to do with.
priorities? I mean, there you go.
Well, I'll be at the Wolverines game, but I might lock myself in a room just to be on, in case there's an emergency or something, and then I'll just lock myself away from everybody and then go home and watch the game later.
Okay.
So
All
we'll
right.
see. We'll see.
Hey, given the results of those last weekend's game, this makes me think that this is Alaska sports talk.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah,
Seattle,
we definitely have to talk the Seahawks though.
Chicago,
I mean,
49ers, Alaska
40
sports.
whiners, 40
Now,
whiners.
if if the games have gone differently, we could have talked more about it. But I'm going to have to direct us back to Alaska sports.
Well, we can do that. So I think we should talk with Colton Growden about last week's impressive performance during the Alaska Prep Shootout. And Brad and Josh, I know you guys were there, so you can feel it. Feel free to chime in with any questions and thoughts as well. But Coach, first of all, congratulations on the overtime victory against Barrow, an impressive comeback. I know you were down by double digits. Just kind of recap some of that tournament and then a little bit of the championship game as well, facing a little bit of adversity and making that comeback.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, the Alaska Prep Shootout, one of the best tournaments in the state every year. Lots of competition there, and it's a fun tournament to be at. Well organized, well ran, and lots of media there. So that was cool for the kids to be a part of, and they love their media days. So we we came out on top in that tournament. Had a tough game against Grace the night before, and then ended up playing Barrow in the championship. Very very proud of my team for getting that win. And it was like Keaton said, we were down 12 at one point. I mean, Barrow is a very good team, big bodies, very physical. We just could not get any shots to drop in the first half, and we didn't make a three in the first half, and I think we hit nine in the second half. So that was a turn of events there for us, and we're a good shooting team, so kind of got to hit those shots that are open to keep the game rolling for us.
Well, that game against Grace, you end up winning by 10, and just you seem pretty confident before the game, and to beat a team that's undefeated that comfortably, how did that make your team feel in terms of their confidence going into the finals?
Well, I mean, this season kind of for us goes back to last year, right? Like we were very good, 18-8, and didn't make the state tournament, and that that put a chip on my kids' shoulders for sure. They're hungry. They show up to practice every day, just ready to go, very active, very loud in practice. I mean, they work hard, and so we've had some tough games already on our schedule this year. We have a very difficult schedule. We're trying to put ourselves in positions for possibly a good state seating with the RPI. So we've had, like I said, we played West and South already, so we've had some competitive games, and we knew that in both those games we were also down at one point, and so we just knew we had to stay the course, and some good things could eventually happen. We tend to go on some pretty large runs, and so we kind of always know in the back of our head, like, hey, once we start rolling a little bit, we're gonna roll. So I think my kids are capable of playing with a lot of confidence because of some of those bigger runs that we've had so far this year. That just they're always into the game no matter what the score is. They know that we've got a shot.
Yeah, in that finals game, Jaden Miranda really kind of sparked you guys. Talk about his impact on your team this year so far.
Yeah, man, Jaden is a very good basketball player, very smart basketball player. He's a very good teammate. What really sparked that run, if you look back at that game, is he got other teammates going, and so then we got to stretch the floor out a little bit. We hit a couple of threes off Jaden's assists, and they kind of opened up his drive lanes. He's quick, he's shifty, he's athletic, he's capable of finishing against some contact, finishing up against bigger guys. So his motor's really high, and he's got a lot of energy. So his competitive edge brings a level of confidence and skill to our team that's very needed.
And talking about coaching moves into the second half, you guys went into a zone, and with Alex Fruin, I'd like to hear your opinion about him and how he plays. I didn't see anything you did that was overly specific to stopping him, but for whatever reason, that zone really got him off balance. Kind of curious if you just plan to show that as a change of pace. Sure seemed to be something that was working, and when you stayed with it, it really seemed to hurt him.
Yeah. Well, we played Barrow in the Doc Larson Championship, and Alex had 34 against us. So we were very, very knowledgeable that he is a high level scorer, and he can score in the paint. He's got a pretty nice pull up, and he shoots well from deep. And so we tried to play him straight up as much as we could. And then we had an injury with a kid that got a concussion during the game, and that changed it for us a lot. And there was a time there you saw we put Jaden on him. Jaden's a elite defender as well, and he gave him a little bit of problems there, and then they started posting him up. And so that's when I knew, like, we were there for backside help a couple plays. We got a couple steals off of it, but I knew we were going to have to change something. And we don't play zone basketball. I'm not a big zone guy. We actually haven't even practiced it yet this year. That was our in-game adjustment that we had to make just to see what they were going to do from it. And it really stopped. He became more of a playmaker, trying to make plays for others than himself, and that kind of helped us get back into the lead because he was kind of having his way with us there, man-to-man defense. I mean, in my opinion, that's a Division I kid. He is big, he's strong, he's athletic, he handles the ball well, he shoots well, and he's a force to be reckoned with anytime he's on the floor. And so you have to give a lot of attention to him, but we knew that we couldn't solely focus on Alex, because one of my things about Alex is I also think he's a really good passer. And if you saw in some of the other games, he makes that lob pass to his other big man really well. And so we really wanted to focus on not only stopping him scoring, but try to take some of his playmaking abilities away. And we thought if we could go to a zone and stretch out a little bit, maybe try to get some steals in the passing lanes on cross court passes or any farther pass, pulling our down low wings a little bit higher, and trying to put more ball pressure on with our guards up top, and try to make him have to thread the needle instead of just have quarterback drop back pass into a wide open passing lane.
Well, I know it's early on in the season, Coach, for you guys. You have a handful of games underneath your belt. What are you pleased with your team so far? Is it your offense? Is it your defense? Is it something else that you've seen so far through 6, 7 games of the season that you guys have? What is it about this team that you've been impressed with so far?
One, our ability to compete. We're not the biggest team. We really have like a 5 guard system. We have 2 bigger kids that can handle the ball and shoot the ball pretty well that play in the post for us. But this just their competitive edge. Like I said, we've gotten down in some games. We were down at halftime against South. We got down against West, and their ability to just continue, to believe in the system that we're running and have that confidence that we can finish on top no matter what the score is, and keep going on some of those runs, and we'll be exactly where we want to be. But I think what has our biggest takeaway from the season so far is we are a lot better defensively than we had been last year, and that's a huge part of the game for us, and that's kind of our focus. We pressed a little bit. We didn't press against Barrow as much, but we definitely, being a little bit smaller, we want to try to speed the game up and get some teams to have to face some pressure, and hopefully get our smaller guards some hands on the ball and some deflections to create some havoc defensively.
Coach, as I watched you play, I think one thing I've studied over the years is the idea of momentum. And there was a time where I thought momentum was a media made up thing. But in watching your team play, there was a time during the game in the second half when momentum was a tangible thing. And I wonder what your thoughts are on momentum.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, our kids are pretty confident in going on some runs, and usually when we do go on a run, it's a pretty drastic run, and momentum plays are a big part of the game. We're big on trying to take charges. We think that's a big momentum play. We like to try to push the ball in transition. We think if we can get the ball out quickly and get it up the floor, that that can change some momentum. But I think one of the biggest momentum plays in high school basketball is a open 3-pointer. And so we really try to move the ball and make the extra passes to find great shots, not just good shots around the 3-point line. And that can definitely, add some momentum if you hit a couple of threes and you're down 12 and now you're down 6 with a couple stops. So I think momentum, especially in high school kids, can, one team gets momentum, the other team loses some confidence and tries to start playing a little bit slower, which maybe Barrow hadn't been doing in that game. They had been playing at a pretty fast pace, and once we got some momentum, it had to slow them down a little bit. And I think ultimately that's what led to our overtime victory.
Well, now you guys get a chance to kind of regroup a little bit. You got a game coming up tomorrow against North Pole, and then you'll have a little bit of time before you make your way back down to Anchorage for the Alaska Airlines Classic. Kind of give us a scouting report on the Patriots, what you know about them so far going into tomorrow's game, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Alaska Airlines Classic too.
Well, North Pole's off to a pretty good start, as you see in the RPI. They're, I think, at 11 right now. They've got a couple wins at home under their belt recently. They just beat Mountain City, so they're coming in with some momentum, coming in with some wins. Figuring, starting a season with some wins is always some confidence for another team. So we know that they're going to come into the game with some confidence, and we're going to continue to play with the confidence that we have after being undefeated at the moment, and try to come out on top in that game. And then we do have the rest of the week off, and preparations for the Alaska Airlines.
Hey, Coach, how are you guys adjusting to the shot clock this year? I know a lot of teams are kind of getting used to the faster pace of basketball. How are you guys kind of adjusting to it?
Well, I mean, if you look and historically in our program the last 8 years or so, we've never been a team that really spent too much time offensively. We've always kind of believed in, pushing the pace and getting some shots up and trying to get more possessions than the other team. So for us personally, it doesn't feel that big of a difference because we've always kind of been a fast paced type of team. But it definitely puts some coaching into the game. I think that wasn't there before. You know, when we want to go 2-for-1s, and at what point of the shot clock do we want to get into a set, or are we going to just kind of run, run it for the 35 in the motion offense that we're currently in. So a lot more coaching decisions I think go into shot clock play, but overall for the kids in my program, I do not think it has been too big of an adjustment for them, as we've always kind of played fast and tried to get multiple possessions.
Well, Colton,
Well, go ahead, Brad.
Alaska Airlines, that tournament's put together to try and have some Alaska teams will challenge outside teams. And you don't always know how good the Alaska teams are, but you guys certainly got to be a team. Kind of wondering in the bracketing with the good outside teams and probably maybe not being set up for you to win kind of thing. You don't want to go into a tournament like that not having a chance to play the outside team. So what are your feelings about that?
Yeah, I mean, in my time at West Valley, we have not played too many outside teams. I think there has been one. So this is a good opportunity for us to get challenged and kind of see where we're at, and see how we face some adversity against some bigger teams, more athletic guys, and just see what our confidence level is going into a game like that. Are we going to be on our heels because this team we're first round is playing from Florida, or are we going to come out and be ready to compete? So we're excited to get that opportunity. We're excited to be in the Alaska Airlines Classic, as it's my favorite tournament that the state of Alaska puts on. And so we're going to be excited to be there, but we're not just happy to be there. We are going to try to compete to the best of our ability.
How do you prep for a team that you really don't know too much about? I mean, obviously, we were talking briefly before we came on, like you don't really have any film on them or anything like that, other than you've seen the roster and some height of their players and whatnot. How do you prep for that game going into next week?
Um, that's very difficult. As I said, I'm a big film guy, so I was looking on NFHS, couldn't find anything. Luckily, there, we do use Huddle, so I'm going to reach out to a couple coaches from their conference and ask for some game film and see if they'll share with us that way. But I think for us, if we can't find film on them and don't really have an idea, we just have to really focus on being crisp, playing with confidence, and then trying to defend the best we possibly can, and not gambling, and just really being a true disciplined defensive team.
Guys, anything else? Go ahead, Brett.
I think basketball is the kind of game if you defend, if you do all the things that you're supposed to do, and just like you say, without the opportunity to scout, the basketball game is going to be won if you take care of the ball, if you do the box, if you do all the things, no matter how good the other team is. Now, that wasn't true last year because the team that won, it really didn't matter if you boxed them out. But when you focus on your own team, that's really kind of all you can do. And if you do all those things, you're going to be in a lot of games.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm a big believer in competition drills too. So, if we're doing a box out drill, it's a competition. If we're doing a rebounding drill, it's a competition. If we're getting on the floor taking charges, it's a competition. So we're going to try to do all the little things right to give us at least a chance to be in a close game, and hopefully, have some opportunities for coaching to come in and see if we can draw something up, maybe for a game winner or something, to be, give ourselves some confidence to continue throughout that tournament.
Well, it should be a good tournament coming up next week at the Alaska Airlines Classic on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. If you can't make it, you can find it on the NFHS network on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday as well for those awesome games. Coach Growden, anything you want to say before we let you go and give the rest of your evening to you?
No, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, and it's cool watching this podcast grow.
Appreciate it. Thank you. We
Thanks.
appreciate you having me on. So feel free to stick around if you want to. We'll talk to Josh about some high school hoops. Josh, I know you've seen a lot of high school basketball so far this season, been at a lot of tournaments. Kind of early season thoughts overall on Alaska high school basketball?
Yeah, it's definitely, more open than it's been in some years. And I was happy to stop by the shootout and watch Coach's team over the weekend for the first time this season. And yeah, they're really impressive. Gotta say, I mean, that Miranda kid, man. I mean, for somebody who's not as physically as imposing of a presence, I mean, the way that kid moves up and down the court, both ends of the court, is really impressive. Watching Grace do their thing. I was at their game against East to open the season. It was East's first game, so East kind of team that usually kind of starts off a little slow, just because they're kind of feeling out process. They don't do too many tournaments early on in the season, so their first few games are kind of just like them getting their feet wet. And I expect them. They beat South over the weekend, so I expect them to come on strong too. I can't wait for. I know coaches on that. You guys play them early February, right? Like February 6th or something like that.
Yep, February 6th at East Anchorage.
Yeah, I'll be there for that game for sure.
That'll be a good one.
That should be. That will be a good one for sure. For sure. Has there been a team that you've kind of been maybe a little bit shocked by, Josh, in some of the games that you watch? Like maybe could be good, it could be bad. Is this something that stood out to you so far?
Still making the rounds. Like I said, I haven't even seen like a service play in person yet. West has gotten off to a pretty strong start. They did some cool things down in Vegas. I'm excited to see them play for the first time. So I'm still kind of getting the feeling out process. It's still a little too early to kind of still use living up to expectations are falling short. But the Clarkson brothers from Diamond, I'm not Diamond, from Grace Christian. Those guys can shoot, man. I mean, like I went to East in Grace Christian game. Well, those guys were lights out. So those two guys over there, and like I said, seeing Miranda for the first time this year was really impressive. And I'm looking forward to seeing some like Mason from West. I heard he's been tearing it up. So I'm looking forward to kind of exploring the landscape a little bit more.
Brad, anything yet? You've been
Well,
quiet.
I guess to what Josh says is it's hard to get to every game that early and kind of try to make it a point to see every team. But between the Grace tournament and the Alaska Prep, that is a great opportunity to see a lot of basketball. Grace, I think I don't know. I don't know if they caught a little pressure going into that tournament at the Alaska Prep. They were undefeated. They'd beaten the East. They won their own tournament. And I think with the Clarkson kids, they're great. They're kind of like really good when they're really good, and relying on the 3-point shot that kind of comes and goes
Hmm.
for anybody. But when they're balanced, I think that's their strength. And they have Bristol, Tobin inside. They have the Clarksons outside, and the Jones kids really coming on in the post. So their strength has been their balance. Where like a Barrow at Alex Fruin, they have their share of balance too, but they're really have a dominant player. So just kind of interesting. I think Josh makes a good point about East. You're not going to see him at midseason form until midseason.
Yep.
Right.
They're going to start a little slower. And also, to his point, the service in the West, the people you haven't seen, including the Mason kid, who's everybody knows is a really, really good player. So a lot of interesting basketball ahead.
You talked to Coach Growden about the shot clock, Josh, and kind of get your thoughts on it so far. Have you noticed a difference, from maybe last year to this year and how some teams have played or just overall pace of play in Alaska high school basketball so far at the large school level?
Yeah, it's definitely had to pick up. Like when I went to that Grace and East game, there was a couple times where I think both teams kind of forgot about it a little bit, and they had a couple shot clock violations. So it's just kind of picking up the faster pace. I was talking to a parent, and they were like, I'm happy about it because now these games don't drag on like they used to, and it promotes higher scoring, faster pace, and I think it's good to get these kids ready to to try to go to the next level or when they want to compete out of state for different things because everybody around the country is doing it. I'm glad Alaska's kind of caught up to it. As far as how teams are adjusting for it, like I know in the past, like East has been a team that's like been. I was so impressed like when they could just kind of slow down a game and play at their own pace and kind of dictate the pace of a game. But now I think it's going to be cool to see how Coach Martin kind of adjusts to that, and his players were already showing signs of adjusting well to it in the second half of that Grace game when they almost came back and won that thing. So I'm excited to see how the other teams kind of adjust to it as well.
Brad, what are your thoughts so far from the games that you've seen?
I was hoping you maybe weren't going to ask me that one, but
Oh, okay. All right.
I was a non-proponent of the shot clock, and one reason is I like the different styles. I don't want to see every game the same, and with a 24-second clock in the NBA, and people kind of running the same offense on ball screens, but in watching it in action, I really kind of liked it when it's a 35-second initiation. There hasn't been much issues with it.
Mm.
There hasn't been a whole bunch of mistakes with it where the clock hasn't been reset. There's been a few, and there was one game that was particularly annoying. But I think for early on, people are really doing a good job over there. I know Fast Steady. I don't know if you know about. We dropped the fast off his name because, well, he's just not so fast anymore. But he is training people as the top and most experienced shot guy. But I think Keaton, where it most comes into play is, somebody knocks it out of bounds. There's 12 seconds left. You're not used to looking for it. That's when I've seen the most violations, and that's one thing that I think teams still have to get used to.
No, it'll be interesting to see how those teams kind of adjust throughout the season. I'm sure, as the month wears on, you get closer into the March, whatnot, they'll get more and more used to it, obviously. So, I think it's been good for high school basketball here in the state of Alaska. I think it's been much needed just to kind of, like Josh said, get everybody kind of caught up to the rest of the country. You got so many other states. I think there's like only two other states now, I think, that don't have the shot clock. I don't know. Somebody,
No,
Isaiah, can we look into that? Is there more than
it's
that?
more than that. For
Okay. I
instance,
thought it was
you might not think it, but Colorado doesn't
okay.
have the shot clock, which is a little surprising. But there's a few other states that don't have it. The last count I had, it was I think 34.
Oh, is it that many?
It was
Man, I
34.
didn't
Well,
think.
no, 34 that have the shot
Oh, had
clock
it. Okay.
that have it. So Alaska was I think the only state that adopted it this past year. I think they were the only ones that adopted it. I mean, some of the other bigger states have had it for a while, but there are still some. And, I wouldn't have thought Colorado was one that didn't have it, but they don't. It's definitely I've liked it from the high school games that I've seen because you can, well, to Brad's point, it's still a 35-second, so you can still run a different styles of offense. If you only want to run quick hitters or if you want to run more of a continuity offense, you can. There's enough time. But what I like is it really exposes, who's got basketball smarts and who doesn't. Who's got some real strategy involved with things, who can really foresee things that are happening in the game and plan for it towards the end of quarters and end of halves. That's what I like about it a little bit more is some more of that strategy that's involved.
Yeah, I've been reading some basketball history, and there's only one um, level of play anymore that has, for example, a 20-minute half. But at one point in college basketball, they went to 10-minute quarters, and this was way back before I was born. And when they went to the 10-minute quarters, they had that many more times where it went to when it wound down, and you had to have something ready to go. And so with 20-minute halves, you only had the halftime and the end of the game where you played it down to the end. But now with the 35-second clock, you have to have something ready to go with 10 seconds. And I think Colton mentioned it as well, the 2-for-1 situation. So that's a thing in the NBA and college that they've been playing with, and they understand and they get it. But in high school, that still is something probably teams have to become aware of, that, there's a minute to go and you take that shot at 45 to make sure they take it at 10. And, you get that 2-for-1 at the end of quarters or when it comes up.
Yeah. Well, one thing also, Coach Growden mentioned that he's excited and looking forward to is the Alaska Airlines Classic. I know that we're all looking forward to it. Josh, what is something about next week's tournament you're really looking forward to?
Oh, just like, I always love seeing how like Alaska's best stacks up against some out of state competition. And like one of the cool things I like doing every year is when I talk to some of these out of state teams, just, because like some years, like one year it got real rainy and and they were over prepared for the snow. And like, we should have brought our rain boots and the rain jackets instead of and so I always kind of want to see how the other teams from out of state are kind of adjusting to, life up here in Alaska, even if it is just for a few days. And then also just seeing how Alaska stacks up against the LC competition. I remember like one year when Grace had won it. I mean, they were just like the tournament kings that year. They were just like slaughtering everybody. Came in and won the prep shootout and then the Alaska Airlines Classic. So it'd be cool to see if Alaska team kind of do that again. If they could come in, and I'm not just familiar with the bracket as far as who's coming up from Florida, how many ranked recruits or anything like that. But I'm always looking to see Alaska's best go up against out of state's best.
Brad, what are you looking forward to about next week's tournament at West?
Well, I think Georgia might be another one of the states, and I think between Florida and Georgia, you don't have to look at too many college football or basketball rosters before you see those states pop up all the time. So I think we're going to see a lot of athleticism, and it would shock me, Keaton, if Isaiah wouldn't slip in something about Heritage winning one of the Alaska Airlines Classics.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely one that once. I know that's
What was
got
it,
some video, got
2003?
some. No, it was 2005, the
Five. Okay.
2005 2006 school year.
And
That's when they won it.
defeating Notre Dame along the way, which
Yep.
Notre Dame carries a lot of name value.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. The brackets for that, I believe, are out at the Alaska Airlines Classic.com. I believe they are. I know I have a
Yeah.
little bit of they are out there, Keaton.
Yep. I got it
Okay.
right here. So,
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, so it starts on Thursday afternoon, 1:30, Sitka and West. So that's that game where, the West student body gets to come out and, you got 1,000 plus kids in the stands and whatnot
And
watching that game. So
that's Thursday the 22nd. It's not this week if you're
no,
listening to the
yes.
podcast
Sorry.
this week, but next week the 22nd on Thursday for the guys.
Yeah, good
Yeah, yeah.
clarification.
I went to West, so like those games where you got to come in and watch the out of state teams when they came up for the classic, or even just like another team from Alaska, like those were like some of the coolest memories I had from high school, like watching those Alaska Airlines Classic games at West.
Did they have the student body game when you were there, Josh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. They did, and those are, like I said, some of the best, my fondest memories from high school as far as watching other sports.
That's cool. It's always a cool event. I mean, to see the whole student body like come out to the gymnasium and whatnot and pack the gym, it's just a cool, unique experience because I don't know if there's any other high school event that does that. Like, I
Well,
can't think of anything else.
they did it at the Alaska Prep Shootout, but
Yeah.
I think Josh is right. The nest on Hillcrest, pretty adamant crowd, good PA span over there, gets everybody riled up, despite keeping a fairly even announcement of the game. I think the one thing that kind of takes away from the student body crowd is they are largely dominated by the last bell of the day. So there becomes a point in the game where there's a stampede toward the door, but a lot stay, and that's one of the better high school crowds you'll find.
Yeah, when I was going to school there, nobody left. Like the bell could ring, and we're all still staying for that game, unless our team was getting blown out. Then I'd rather go somewhere else. But that was a rare occurrence. They were pretty good when I was going there.
That's true. That is true.
That is very true.
Finish up with the rest of the boys tournament. So the 1:30 game, Sitka and West at 4 o'clock. It's Forest out of Ocala, Florida, taking on West Valley. 5:30, it's Central High School out of Little Rock, Arkansas, taking on Colony. And then in the nightcap, it's 7 o'clock. Maine Endwell out of Endwell, New York, taking on East Anchorage on the first day of the tournament on Thursday, the 22nd. The girls' tournament starts a little bit earlier next week, starts on Tuesday, 6 o'clock, Colony versus Sitka, and then 7:30, Monroe Catholic versus West on the 20th. to get things started. They'll play the 20th, 21st, and the 22nd. On the 22nd, they'll have games at 9 a.m. and 11:15 a.m. The girls' tournament a little bit different than how the boys' tournament set up. Not really a bracket, it's more of a kind of round robin style.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of playing everybody during those 3 days between Colony and Sitka and Monroe and West on the girls' side of things. So it should be a fun and entertaining tournament. Always one of the best tournaments of the year, that's for sure. If you can't make it in person again, the NFHS Network will have you covered for all those games, girls and boys side of things next week. Anything else we want to mention about high school basketball before we kind of jump up a level, go to college?
Oh, let's jump up a
We're good.
level.
Let's jump up a level. All right, go to college hoops. UAA men's and women's basketball in action this past week. The men were on the road this week, picking up some wins. Last Saturday, the UAA men's basketball team able to pick up a victory against Central Washington, a huge win uh, against the Wildcats. Ended up dropping one against Northwest Nazarene in the first on Thursday, but bounced back with a victory against Central Washington, 69-55. Now sitting in third place in the GNAC with a 4-2 conference record. So the guy's off to a pretty decent start, 10-4 overall, or sorry, 12-5 overall, 4-2 in conference play. And Josh, I know you've seen the men's team a handful of times this year. What's kind of stood out to you about this year's men's basketball team?
The two local guys, Hassan Harrington and Bishop Tosi. Those guys are really kind of making the most of their last ride here, especially Hassan, man. I mean, he's been a force on both ends of the court. I mean, the dude, he's one of the best defenders in the league. And then like also like he really kind of like juices that team up with some of like his steals and breakaways. Like I remember like the last game I went to, he had like a breakaway and then like a vicious dunk. And from like that, it was like a really kind of back and forth game. And from like that point on, like I just felt like UA kind of like dominated the game as far as momentum wise and everything. So those two local guys definitely making the most of the last ride here. Then some of the new pieces are kind of turning some heads too.
Brad, what have you noticed about this year's men's basketball team from your perspective?
Well, following up on Hassan, that previous week when they thrashed Western Washington, which always been a close game, and just the plays Josh mentioned, the steal. Western Washington had a point guard that was averaging 19. I think he scored two, and Hassan was on him virtually the whole game. And I think UAA is just playing as well as we've seen him in a number of years. And to get a split, that's a tough road trip to go play Central and to go play Northwest Nazarene. For example, UAF is a decent team. They beat some people. They swept at home. They went down to Central and they lost 101-50. And they were a lot more competitive against Northwest Nazarene, but just hard to win on the road. So, you try to, the old saying is sweep them at home and split on the road. So I think the men have another road trip coming up this weekend. And again, that's, I don't know. My favorite saying is this is critical. This is the biggest play of the game. But I do think that this is a critical road trip for them. You know,
Yeah, it's a 3 game road trip. The final game coming up, they're going up to Fairbanks this weekend to take on the Nanooks. So uh, they were at Northwest Nazarene, lost 60-54, then beat Central Washington 69-55, and now they'll travel up to Fairbanks. So they only have 1 game this week, playing on Saturday up at Fairbanks before they're back home next week on the 22nd to take on Seattle Pacific and then also Montana State Billings as well. But they've gotten off to a good start this season and a little bit better than what they were last year in terms of conference record at this point in the year. So putting themselves in the number 3 spot, giving themselves a lot better shot at, um, you know, in that upper echelon of the GNAC conference. So we'll see how things shake out up in Fairbanks and then back home against Seattle Pacific and Montana State Billings. The UAA women's basketball team also in action. They were at home this past week as they took on UAF after they had a 2 game I guess, homestand prior to that game against UAF. Seawolves able to take down the Nanooks by the final score of 76-41, a 35-point victory for Matt Toon after they come off of the home split against Northwest Nazarene and Central Washington to start the new year, beating Northwest Nazarene, then losing to number 16 Central Washington. Josh, obviously Matt Toon in his first season. What kind of stood out to you from your eyes and your perspective about watching him coach and watching this year's Lady Seawolves team?
Yeah, so I was at that game on Saturday, and I was a little worried for it, like coming out of the first period. It was like 12-10, and I was like, oh man, it's kind of rough. But and then they went on that 21-7 run in the second period and really kind of just pulled away from there. And I talked to the coach after the game, and he said that they came out kind of flat and didn't weren't executing their game plan early on. But as soon as they got to it, they kind of pulled away there. So I've really enjoyed watching him kind of impart his own style of basketball onto this team, instead of just trying to copy the McCarthy mayhem thing. Like they have their moments when where they do play tenacious full court press and stuff like that, but for the most part, like he has them he's dialing up his own stuff, and it's really kind of cool to see him kind of put his own imprint on this program. And he's getting some of the best of a lot of players kind of at this. A lot of the players are kind of picking up their play now. Like, I mean, Elena Mack has been money all season long.
Yeah.
But you got a girl like Mahalia Harrison, who's had like three double doubles in the past 5 games.
Right.
She had almost as many points as many rebounds as she had points this past game. She had 17 and 14. And I was talking to coach after the game. He's like, and he still felt like she didn't have as good of a game as she could have had. So having somebody who can be that much of a presence in the post for them, and as far as scoring and getting rebounds, has been pretty cool to see. And then watching them get some of the local girls, and like Jennifer Nash had some big threes for them in games coming off the bench, and then Miley Anderson as a freshman starter for them has been nails too. So I like what I've seen for this team so far.
Brad, your thoughts?
Well, I liked the play of the women as well. Of course, having been taken up with a prep shootout this last weekend, we didn't get to see that last game. Maybe their record is a little deceiving. I think on the men's side, that record maybe has been similar to what it's been sometimes in the past, but I really think this team has a look on the men's side that executes. And, I kind of think that this record's going to hold up. I think barring, some catastrophic injuries, they just run stuff, their body in. And really, I think that's true about both these teams. They're bought in with coaches' process and the coach's philosophy, and they work together as one. And I think that makes them both so watchable and so much fun to watch.
Yeah, the women's basketball team, 10-4 on the season, 2-3 in GNAC play. They've taken care of business at home. They've only lost one home game, and that was against Central Washington. So they got a really good home record. Just got to clean up things on the road away from the Alaska Airlines Center, and they'll be all right. So coming off that 35-point victory, Seawolf women's basketball team on the road, as are the men. Mentioned that they're playing up at Fairbanks, but the women on the road on Thursday and Saturday this week as they will take on Simon Fraser and Western Washington. That's always a tough road trip going down to Bellingham and then also into Burnaby, British Columbia. So keep an eye on them. You can follow them at goseawolves.com as they are on the road as well. Wow. All right. So that gets us through a little bit of hoops, a little bit of that. Let's see. High school hockey. Josh, anything from high school hockey you want to touch on?
I haven't gotten out to
Yeah.
the game since the new year started. I'm gonna be trying to go out to some this week, but South has definitely been the biggest surprise of the season so far, undefeated so far. I think like 9-0-1 or something like that.
Yeah.
So what Coach Ramsey's doing over there is pretty impressive, and West is coming on strong too. So and then Chugak's always a contender. So I'm looking forward to getting out to more hockey games.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that postseason hockey is right around the corner. I think we got a little more than a month of regular season left, maybe not even that, because then we'll still have the state championships coming up in the beginning of February. So, postseason hockey, uh, just kind of around the bend, so to speak. So, we'll be keeping our eye close on that as it comes along. I know it's the new year, and Josh, I haven't really talked to you too much. I kind of want to know what your favorite sports story from the past year that you covered was? Is there one that sticks out in your mind that you covered in 2025 that you were like, all right, that was kind of cool, that was unique, kind of a sports story?
Man, uh,
Put you on the spot, I know.
yeah. It's funny you mentioned this. We kind of missed the mark. We usually do like a top stories from the year before. We usually do it around Christmas. We kind of forgot about it this year. It's because we were so busy trying to bank some stories. But um, I'd have to probably say the story I did on Brandon Peely for with the Seahawks. So I actually got to go down to Seattle for their preseason home opener, and that was my first time attending an NFL game in like a reporter capacity. So I wasn't just like there as a fan, actually getting to go into the press box and everything, but more so than my experience, just like kind of I've been keeping real close track of this guy's journey, throughout his first 3 years in the NFL, and just seeing the way that the coaches and players on that team talk about him. This is a guy he'd only been on the team for like less than a year. They picked him up like last part of the 2024 season, and then they signed him to the active roster like for the season finale, but he didn't play any snaps. So that game against the Raiders in the preseason opener was his first snaps, and he had a hell of a first half, man. I mean, like I was telling the guys in the press box that I was down here to cover this kid from Alaska. And some of them were kind of familiar with him, but not really. But he just kept making plays in the first half. I mean, he made so many plays in the first half that they pretty much sat him for most of the second. And just that was covering that, and then just kind of talking to some of the players in the locker room about him, and talking to Coach McDonald about him, and then like Coach McDonald's a real kind of monotone dude. And when I asked him about Brandon Peely, like, "Hey, coach, tell me about a guy like Brandon Peely," and his face just lit up, and he gave the most energetic like answer of his entire press conference. And they have a big name, they have a nickname for him. They call him Big Healthy because he's always like healthy and available. And he hasn't played a lot of snaps for the Seahawks this year. Just given that the nature of the position he plays at nose tackle, you're not always going to have, especially when you're on a rotational basis like that. So there have been some games he's been inactive, kind of depending on the matchup. But like when he has played, I mean, dude is making plays all the time. So doing that story on him and then kind of following his journey, he made a big. I actually just talked to him this past week. I'm doing a story on him in the preparation of the Seahawks' first playoff game. It's gonna be his first time playing in the playoffs. So just kind of covering Brandon Peely really in his journey with the Seahawks, and kind of going from a guy who I wouldn't say is an afterthought, because like I said, every time he's played in this league, he's made some plays, but kind of finding his way and carving out a path with the Seahawks, and following that, and tracking him every week when he's games he does play. And that was one of the more fun stories that I had, just from me being able to kind of explore from that reporter's perspective, and being in an NFL environment like that, and then also tracking his journey and seeing how he's really kind of representing Alaska so well on the national stage.
No, it is a cool story to follow his journey. And started off, with Miami and whatnot, was there for a handful of seasons with Miami before getting picked up with Seattle. I'm sure he's glad to be out of Miami. The team situation, not necessarily like Miami itself, but making the playoffs, like you mentioned, for the first time in his career, that's going to be a unique thing. Hopefully, get to see him on the field this week when they take on the
Well, since they're going
49ers.
against the 49ers, so he wasn't active for their last game against the Rams, just given that the Rams, have to go do a lot of 11 personnel, a lot of wide
Right.
receivers, so they wanted more defensive backs to defensive linemen. But given that they're going against the Niners, every game that they play the Niners this year, he's been active for. So, especially now that they don't have Kittle, he's done with the Achilles, so they're definitely going to be trying to lean more on Christian McCaffrey in the run game. So you're going to need that big boy Brandon Peely in the trenches,
Yeah,
man, clogging up them rush lanes.
that's for
See,
sure. You're right.
see, the Seattle
Well,
Seahawks. Seattle
yeah,
Seahawks are Alaska sports.
yeah.
Oh my.
Let's keep bringing that up. But Brandon Peely, in seeing him during the regular season, I tell you, he was on special teams, and I
That was
remember
awesome. He hit
That
that
was
whoever
dude
a
so
played.
hard.
forced that fumble, yeah.
Yeah,
He
that was
put in
awesome.
he put in a hard hit, and it was very impressive. But the thing was, Seattle was, I hate to say it, so dominant that game. I think they scored the very next play, so you couldn't even highlight that play because Seattle so fast and so furious. And I think Josh mentioned healthy in conjunction with Brandon Peely's name, and that's kind of been his deal in the NFL, and it was with Miami. He wasn't at really full strength there. And I think as he's gotten healthier, people are going to see more about what he's all about. And I guess what we always like to say with Josh is, I don't know where Alaska sports would be without the rewind. And just
Appreciate it.
looking at it today and yesterday, getting ready here. And, I'm thinking about Isaiah, Keaton, and I. And Isaiah, Isaiah, we're as interested as people can be in sports, and especially Alaska sports. And sometimes we can search it and search it and search it. And, it take us hours. Well, especially for me. But with the rewind, it's all there at your fingertips. So, if you think newspapers are going away, the rewind itself is worth the
100%.
wait.
100%.
I appreciate it, man. It's a beast of a thing to put together each week. Like I've tried to get a jump start on it by like tagging things as I see them throughout the week. But Mondays are usually like my longest work days, just because it takes me like so long to put all that stuff together. And it was like that thing's really kind of my baby. I think it started off as like what did we call it when I first started? I think it was like the week in review, and then we kind of wanted to rebrand it to something that was like more, because we used to kind of recap the stuff that I'd covered that week, but then we kind of wanted to make it more of like, all right, what if people might have missed? So kind of things that people hadn't gotten to, and the more I've been able to kind of like follow some of these kids that have matriculated to the college and pro levels. It's definitely my baby, one of my most proud things I'm proud of. It takes so much work to get into. I'm literally up from like 7 in the morning, and then I usually file that thing. I'm trying to get it in earlier, but like sometimes I usually try to file. I usually end up filing between 4 and 5.
Well, it's an awesome piece because I look forward to it just to go back and recap things that maybe I have missed or didn't get enough information on. So you do a fantastic job with it, and it's much appreciated from our point of view. Like Brad said,
Absolutely.
it's a huge source of information for us to, gather things, and you do such a great job with that. So we appreciate your work. So it's good stuff.
100%.
And
Yeah.
John, I know you talk about lack of sleep, and I know in watching you at games, there's other factors that lead to your lack of sleep, and they're usually running around beside you. But to take care of business as a dad and business as a sports reporter, that's even more of a challenge, and you live up to that.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I got 5 of these little munchkins, man, and my oldest 3 are to the age where I can start bringing them to work with me. Especially the older two, like my 5-year-old and my 4-year-old, they love coming to work with me. Especially my son. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge, man, to put this straight on the family. But now that they're getting to the age where they can start enjoying and actually understanding sports, it's really kind of becoming a family affair in the Reed household.
Oh, that's cool. That's a unique time. That's for sure. That's awesome.
Yep.
Awesome stuff. Before we wrap things up, Josh, how happy were you that the Steelers got blown out tonight?
Look, me and my son were so excited. I was like, they would have been better off losing to the Ravens last week instead of getting embarrassed at home like they did tonight. I mean, honestly, if you were Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers, would you rather have gone out in a blaze of glory against the Ravens, lost on the last minute second field goal, or get your face caved in at home on prime time, standalone game? That's just so embarrassing. I mean,
Yeah.
that's so embarrassing. And I was getting so mad at CJ Stroud in that first 3 quarters of that game. I was like, what is this guy freaking point shaving over here? These asinine turnovers, just throwing
Yeah.
it straight to the defensive backs, and like just take a sack, man. Like I swear to God, I thought CJ Stroud was doing his best Paul Crew from longest yard impression, was trying to throw that game for the Texans, but the Texas defense wouldn't allow it. They wouldn't
No.
allow it. 42
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers couldn't get the hell out of Dodge.
One thing I'll say, and of course, I think there's a media perspective, which I'm trying not to get, an athletic coaching perspective, but in evaluating quarterback play, like you continually hear about Justin Herbert, and he hasn't won this game, and he wasn't. Well, I'll just say this: it's hard to throw on your back, and that was true of CJ today. As good a quarterback as he is, he had a couple turnovers when he was just getting thrashed. And then, later in the game, Aaron Rodgers holding on to the ball and, guys just whiffing on their blocks. So I think of CJ Stroud, the first big pass that he threw, it looked like he was passing out of a bubble. Perfect follow through, no one around him. So I guess it goes back to blindside. You better draft those tackles. You better.
My issue with Stroud was he made bad plays even worse. Like instead of just eating the sack or throwing the ball away, he was trying to do some little sidearm thing or trying to, when you feel that pressure breathing down your neck or in the back, the coaches always tell you just eat the sack. We'd rather take a tackle for loss for -9 than you give them the ball on their own, on our 39 pretty much. And so my issue with Stroud tonight was he was making bad plays exponentially worse by turning the ball over on against the Steelers defense that their only thing to hang their hat on is turnovers. Well, if they don't turn the ball over, they don't win games. And so when he was turning the ball over, they were in the game. He stopped turning the ball over, they ran away with that game.
Yeah, you're completely right. You're completely right. That it's interesting how that worked out. But do you think that was the last pass, by the way, for Aaron Rodgers, a pick six in his career?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And how sad is that for him that
brutal.
They couldn't even trot him out there for like a little quick screen, so his last pass wasn't an interception. Like even if it was an incompletion, like
Right.
just waving the white flag in Pittsburgh. That's just so sorry for that.
Yeah.
Once I tweeted it. Once proud franchise has just become known for just mediocrity and ineptitude, especially when it comes to the playoffs. So like how my Ravens lost to them, I'll never know. But they find a way to lose to the Steelers every year, at least once. This year it was twice.
Poor Aaron Rodgers. He'll have to survive on his millions and models on each arm. I mean,
I feel bad for the fans, not the players, for the fans.
Yeah, okay, but Aaron Rodgers going off in the distance. I think he'll get over this last game.
His ayahuasca, right? Or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, ayahuasca.
He'll go on some acid trip somewhere.
Yeah.
And then darkness.
Yeah. Just he'll be on the Pat McAfee show just rambling, or something like that. But anyway. Well, I knew you'd be happy about it that the Steelers got blown out. So I figured we had to kind of end it on that note. Anything else you want to mention, Josh, before we sign it off tonight?
We didn't talk girls high school hoops, but they're Kennedy Gaines, Ariana Watson, part 3? Part 2? Anyways, they're gonna play each other for the first time this season on Friday at Service. So I'll be at that game. Two of Alaska's, great, nice young stars on the girls' side going head to head. That'll be fun to watch.
That will be.
Will be a good one.
Yeah.
Will be a good one. Brad, anything else before we sign it off?
Well, we'd be remiss if we didn't say something about the Wolverines, Isaiah. You got any updates there?
Yeah, we've got the Wolverines swept Kenai this past weekend, and then Fairbanks is starting Fairbanks this weekend, Friday, Saturday, 7:30 at the Sullivan. So this is a big month for the Wolverines. A lot of in-state games. The middle of the Midwest Division is pretty tight, so picking up a lot of points this month would be really advantageous heading into the kind of the push before the playoffs here in beginning of April.
No, it's a huge month. Go ahead, Brad. Sorry.
Final word, and gosh, I can't remember everything, Keaton, so people are going to have to tune in again this week. I am going to talk to Coach Osborne in the next couple of days, and speaking of football fans, his roots are in Houston and Elite Elsick High School, and so when we talked about the Steeler Texans game, I was still an Aaron Rodgers fan, and he was plenty okay with the way the game was going. So, but there's two words I haven't heard today, which we usually say. Does anybody remember what those are?
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. I hope, Isaiah, did you post them on your computer?
No. It's just always in my head. Always in my head.
Yeah, well, like and subscribe. There you go. I mean,
like and
wherever you get your podcasts. So we're certainly glad you follow Alaska Sports Talk wherever you happen to get your podcasts. So before we sign it off, I want it noted: Indiana winning the national championship. So I like the Hoosiers. So
Seahawks beating the 49ers on Saturday.
Okay, all right.
Indiana, what's not to like?
It's a good story. It's a unique story. That's for sure.
It really is.
Yeah.
I love the stories. I'm a big story guy.
Yeah.
Although historic, I've rooted for the Canes just given their Ray Lewis being my favorite football player and so many ties to the Ravens. But I can't deny that this Indiana story with Fernando Mendoza and all the I wouldn't call them a band of misfits, but those guys that were overlooked and disregarded by so many different programs coming together for this common goal of swooping everybody's ass is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
It is.
Hey, Josh, you also are able to watch a future Raider because, you know, when, isn't that pretty much certain that's where he's going to go?
I
Have you seen the videos of
would
the
think
fans
so.
outside the Raider Stadium singing that one song like by Fernando or something
Fernando.
like that?
Yeah, I've had. Yeah, Fernando. Yeah, yeah. I know what
Yeah,
you're talking about. Yeah,
they're still ready. Raiders fans are still
I
ready.
know.
That's an ABBA song.
It is. It is. You're right. You're dating yourself there, Isaiah. You're
Yeah, I
dating
know.
yourself. It's all good.
It's
All good.
it's all right.
All
Whatever.
right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Alaska Sports Talk podcast. Thanks so much to West Valley boys basketball head coach Colton Growden for joining us, and also Josh Reed of the Anchorage Daily News. Always a pleasure. For Isaiah Vreeman, Brad Lowers, myself, Keaton Homer. We'll see you around. We'll see you at some Alaska sporting events coming up this week and next week as well.